Travolting presents The Fraser's Edge. Hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore. Recapping the mainstream success era. Enjoy the episode. Who can say where the sun blows, where the sun goes? Only time. Ooh.
Is that like the funeral death
That was
march?
a soliloquy for Brendan Fraser's career.
Oh my god, Jeff.
Not like in the present day. But yeah, as we are covering this recap of the mainstream success era, we're going into some dire waters.
Yep.
So I just wanted to have him, pour one out for the boy.
I'm just looking at the Oscar winner on his IMDb and just saying we're almost there.
Not almost there.
Not
like
really.
9 to 10 years.
Yeah, not really almost there.
We gotta watch Escape from Planet Earth before we get there, my friend.
Oh Lord, yeah, you're right.
The Nut Job.
The Nut Job.
I'm gonna be nutty for that.
But then a lot of it's just TV series and The Poison Rose.
Yeah, we do have to talk about that again.
Gotta watch The Poison Rose again.
That's gonna be the name of the episode. The Poison Rose. ... Again.
Again. Yeah, we are finally here at the second recap episode for the Fraser's Edge, Brendan Fraser career.
Yep, and we're recapping the mainstream success era, going from George of the Jungle to G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Yeah. So I always forget, like, there's always so much of a gap between when we do these episodes that I don't really remember our format and like how we really talk about it.
We kind of like have a very loose format.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like
we pick out our favorites, we talk about the general arc,
least favorite, and then there's underrated.
Yeah.
And I would also add that there's definitely a lot of context to add for Fraser at this point in time.
His personal life.
Which maybe we should do that first.
I think we should just recap the overall era.
Yeah.
And then like get into the personal stuff as we get to it in the timeline.
Sure. So I mean, George of the Jungle, as we said, is the start. Now, prior to George of the Jungle, like he had been getting some lead roles, mostly like rom-com like.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking at Still Breathing, Mrs. Winterborn, Kids in the Hall Brain Candy.
all of his leading roles prior to George of the Jungle were very small scale things.
Yeah, very small scale, or he was acting alongside like
a veteran. They were two-handers.
Yeah, which I think is great that the first two movies right out of the gate for his recap for this era is George of the Jungle and then Gods and Monsters.
Yes.
Two very wildly different movies.
And the two movies that set him up for success in this era.
Yeah.
They aren't what causes it. I would argue The Mummy is, the guarantor for his check. But, he comes out of that initial era into George of the Jungle, which is a monster success.
Yeah.
And a lot of that success is credited to him and his performance.
Yeah.
The innate humanity he brings to George, that he's funny, he's willing to, be physical, he's willing to be, a goof.
Yeah, he becomes the star of the family-friendly franchise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the credit for that movie success goes to him.
Yeah.
And so off of that, at the same time he's doing that, he makes Gods and Monsters.
Right, which is another two-hander with Ian McKellen.
Which even as he gets, like, overacted by Ian McKellen in every sense of the word, his performance is still good in that movie.
I think it's probably, if we have to compare his like two-handers, this is absolutely the best one.
Yes.
For his performance especially.
Yeah.
The end of the movie when he's like in the rain, walking like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah,
Still gets me.
That movie's great. It's maybe my favorite one we've covered.
Also, Jeff.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the audience what you're wearing right now?
Not
that.
The shirt?
Mm-mm.
The hat. Yeah. Folks, quick sidebar. I thought you were talking about this because this pertains to the other episode we're doing today. Yeah. Folks, we are currently recording this episode after a 3-week break that we took.
Yeah.
Because Stuart went on a little sabbatical to Arizona.
I did with my dad.
The guest on the Wild Hogs episode.
Oh, yeah. It's funny you should bring that up, Jeff.
And on their way, they stopped at Maggie's Diner.
On our way of a 30-hour drive, mind
Yes.
you. We drove straight through. We didn't get a hotel. We took like hour-long power naps, ate some fast food, and then just kept driving.
Yes.
Like, we did not stop. So in our 30-hour drive, I'm saying 30-hour drive, Jeff.
Yeah, I hear you.
I told my dad the morning we left, I said, whatever time we have to do this, I want to time it out so we get to Maggie's Diner when they open, which on Apple Maps says 9 o'clock, which New Mexico, it's like Maggie's Diner is in a little town called like Cerrillos, New Mexico. Well, there is Madrid, but there's like a bigger county. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Think of Santa Fe. Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's really close to Santa Fe, New Mexico. So they're on Mountain Standard Time. So they're an hour. We were leaving from Indiana, so Eastern Time. So we were losing 2 hours in the drive. So I was calculating this in the drive, right?
Yes.
Maggie's Diner is about 18, 19, 20 hours away from where we left in Indiana. So we get there, and we got to the Maggie's Diner.
Yes.
That was in our Wild Hogs episode.
And Stuart brought me a John Travolta do-rag from the movie. It says Wild Hogs, Maggie's
We're white,
Diner,
by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Madrid, New Mexico. So that's right, folks. I'm wearing the do-rag, official from the movie Wild Hogs, purchased in Madrid, New Mexico by my dear friend Stuart.
Yeah. We thank the lady at Maggie's Diner who let us in and gave us the whole tour. She was really nice.
Thank you to her. This is the content you come to the Brendan Fraser retrospective for.
Well,
no, this was important.
If people were like lifelong fans of ours and they've been with us from the beginning, then they know that we've talked about in the Wild Hogs episode that Maggie's Diner is a real place that you can go to. It's a gift shop. It's not a diner. And I want people to know that I have fulfilled my promise.
Yeah.
And I have been there in the flesh.
There was a moment of consideration that Stuart and I were going to drive down there as a special episode. It didn't time out.
No, nor I don't think would that.
The bit was going to be we would drive there in one day, go into the diner, buy a T-shirt, and then turn around and drive immediately back. And it would just be basically the episode would be comprised of the 50 hours we'd be in the car to start rambling on our way there and back. But we're not doing that.
So anyway, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. So Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters, a really good movie, two-hander. One of the second movie in his success era.
Yeah, but it's the double-hander of
the family-friendly starring role.
Yeah, and the dramatic success in Gods and Monsters.
Yeah.
Well, Ian McKellen does get all the praise for that movie, rightfully so. Brendan, he showed off what he can do in that movie.
Yeah. And I think both those movies combined really lead the pathway for his future successes. Like then he gets a triple hammer in '99.
Yeah.
Blast from the Past, The Mummy, and say what you will, but then Dudley Do Right.
Yeah, and Dudley Do Right, big flop. But the point being that those are three lead roles established for Brendan Fraser.
Yes.
And they all kind of operate within that George of the Jungle mold.
Yeah.
Of, somewhat family friendly. He's playing a lovable goof.
Yeah.
He's kind of established his niche in Hollywood.
Yeah, very much so. And I think this is a good thing to talk about because then after that we get the next triple hammer of in 2000 Bedazzled, 2001 Monkey Bone, and 2001 The Mummy Returns.
You skipped Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mist.
I did skip Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mist, but that one was recorded in his early hits and misses era. That was made before he was like big, and they just capitalized.
But we do have to talk about him being in Sinbad Beyond the Veil.
I don't think we do, Jeff.
Why have you gone?
I really don't think we have to talk about it that much.
That was a great movie. It was a great episode. Bedazzled, Monkey Bone.
So again, and Mummy Returns again, same niche of the George of the Jungle. Do you get where I'm kind of going with this? Because then the year later, he does The Quiet American with Michael Caine, which is in sort of the same vein of Gods and Monsters. But it takes him 4 years in order to land another dramatic role, which is once again supporting into a bigger lead.
Yeah. And around this time, all the movies that he's doing that are slightly breaking from the Mummy, The Mummy, Blast from the Past, George of the Jungle mold, aren't doing well for him.
It's like they're not doing well for him, or he's just not getting any recognition for it.
Yeah, it's your Bedazzleds and your Monkey Bones. I think Bedazzled did okay.
Bedazzled did pretty good. I was gonna say those movies did pretty well for him because they fit in his niche and in his mold.
Well, I'm less concerned about that aspect. Like Bedazzled did okay at the box office. Monkey Bone flops.
Mummy Returns made a lot of money.
Mummy Returns is his only like unqualified monster success post Mummy at this point. Like Bedazzled was okay, Monkey Bone was a flop. Quiet American is a small drama.
Right.
And so even though Quiet American gets some like, positive notices,
but not really though.
Yeah, it's the Michael Caine movie.
Right, it's the Michael Caine movie.
Yeah. And people are like, "Oh yeah, he was good in that."
Yeah,
but that's where he's at.
Yeah, and then he gets a quick role in Dickie Roberts. Like he's sort of like he's known at this point, and I think Dickie Roberts is like that is like the main
indicator of that.
milestone of like Brendan Fraser is a known actor.
Yeah.
Who
if you can play yourself in a comedy, and people think it's funny and you are, you're A-list talent.
And in the same year, Looney Tunes Back in Action, very much in the same vein of the Mummy Returns, George of the Jungle, which that bombs.
It's interesting because like off of the Mummy, like he has that run, Blast from the Past, George, Mummy, all big successes for him. And then he's having success in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Both with the Mummy and in spin movies he's doing aside from the Mummy that are the same character essentially.
Yeah.
But then around this time that even stops working, and it's clear his only like success is the Mummy movies.
I think of it as from George of the Jungle to Mummy, Brendan Fraser is in a full sprint.
Yeah,
he's in a full sprint, and he's making some good milestones. He's hitting some good accomplishments, but every once in a while, a movie trips him up a little bit. I think the first trip we can comfortably say, Dudley Do Right, but that kind of went under the wayside. He really wasn't noticed too much for that. Monkey Bone was a big one where he trips a little.
Yeah,
he doesn't lose his balance, but he trips a little. Mummy Returns, he's still like in a full sprint. Quiet American, he's still in a full sprint. Then Looney Tunes Back in Action, he kind of trips a little again, and then he trips again with Crash. And then
Crash isn't a trip. Crash was a success at the time. We must acknowledge
I guess that's true.
The Crash is like kind of a recovery for him.
That's so strange.
He's a very small part in it, but it's still like, that movie wins Best Picture.
But then after that, it's like a movie he's not really noticed for, a movie no one watched, a movie no one watched, and then Journey to the Center of the Earth, Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, and Inkheart, all in the same year.
Journey to the Center of the Earth, big success.
Big success.
That's his biggest success to this point.
And then Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Not like a big success. It's a success, though.
A moderate success. And then Inkheart, catastrophic failure.
Yeah, big failure. He can't open a franchise that's not The Mummy unless it's Journey to the Center of the Earth, which is kind of Mummy adjacent.
Yeah.
He's like an adventure guy, and people don't really buy him otherwise at this point. He's got himself really stuck in a pigeonhole.
It seems very interesting to me that, like, with two moderate successes of Journey to the Center of the Earth and Mummy to the Dragon Emperor, that it seems to me that Inkheart is like the nail in the coffin for him.
Inkheart's the nail in the coffin career-wise.
Yeah.
But also around this time is when he starts having a lot of extra movie, issues.
Yeah.
His divorce starts in 2007, the year that these movies are filming.
Yeah.
He starts, having tremendous back pain and shoulder pain and neck pain and leg pain.
Yeah.
Because of his stunts. By the time he's in Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, they're literally like lowering him into a coffin of ice.
Yeah.
After each take. His divorce is very messy. He loses a lot of money in it.
Yeah. Maybe just if we want to talk about the divorce real quick. The divorce happened in, like Jeff said, 2007. It was a 2-year-long process, but and finalized in 2009. But here's the thing. So 2009, I want people to pay attention to where Brendan Fraser is in his career at the point in 2009. He had just gotten done with like all these movies like Inkheart, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. He had finished filming his uncredited role in G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Fairly
Sergeant
Odd
Stone,
Parents.
Yo Joe's.
He had done another we're going to talk about this movie later, but he had done another Quiet American Gods and Monsters adjacent like movie called Extraordinary Measures.
Yes.
And I don't think this guy quite knows how dire his career is at this point because he agrees to pay $50,000 a month for child support.
I don't think he agrees.
Well,
Here's the thing. He doesn't agree to pay $50,000 a month for child support. He is ordered by the court to pay $25,000 a month for child support, in addition to $50,000 in alimony.
yes.
So he has to pay $75,000 a month to his wife and children.
And then in 2013, Fraser then goes back to court to argue that his alimony and child support should be lowered.
Yes.
Because, again, if you look at the man's career in 2013, he's in the doldrums.
Yeah. And so right around 2009, when he's in G.I. Joe, after Inkheart blows up and he's kind of like lost his luster as a movie star.
Yeah.
In addition to losing his luster as a movie star, he's lost his luster in the sense that he's lost his house.
Yeah.
He's probably lost half of his money.
Yeah.
In the divorce.
Yeah.
He's now going to lose an additional $75,000 a month.
Yeah.
And he's not getting big roles.
Yeah. I would be panicking too.
Yeah, and so...
And his body is breaking down.
Yes, his body is breaking down.
Something that is important to note with the divorce story is early, not so much anymore because it's very publicized now, but early when he went back to court to lower his alimony, he kind of got a lot of publicized flack for it. Because it's the stereotypical like court drama, the man's asking to pay less money because they don't want to pay any more money to their ex-wife. But what Brendan Fraser says in multiple interviews is he was paying for so many medical injuries.
Yeah.
I think there was his property in Hurricane Sandy was in New York. Or where was Hurricane Sandy?
New Jersey.
So he had a property that had some damage, and I guess he extended some more of his injuries trying to help clean up some of the damage for Hurricane Sandy. And all those injuries combined, he's paying for a lot of medical bills.
Yeah.
So this man's going through it.
Yeah, he's paying for a lot of medical bills at this end. In addition to the medical bills,
the alimony,
he's also dealing with the aftermath of his 2003 sexual assault.
Yes, which he is, which you have to say is like definitely for sure, like no one in Hollywood would publicly say he got blacklisted for it, but it definitely hurt his roles and chances.
Yeah, and he says very much that incident he believes is one of the reasons
his career.
Yeah, and he later said, like, he doesn't know how much pull the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has.
The president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
It's like they only do the Golden Globes. They're not really, like, that crazy powerful.
They still
but they have something.
They have
something. When you couple that on top of all these other things.
Yeah.
Because the drop-off is so steep.
It is. Because
it goes from, like, he's in Mummy 3, Inkheart, G.I. Joe. Extraordinary Measures is like kind of the teetering point, which we'll talk about next week. And then it's immediately Furry Vengeance, Whole Lot of Soul, or just, low budget kids movie, low budget Irish indie, low budget animation, low budget indie, low budget indie, low budget indie, low budget action movie.
And then he's doing TV stuff.
Yeah, like TV stuff.
For 5 years.
It's clear he's not getting offers.
Yeah.
In what he would like to be doing.
Yeah.
And so he has to take whatever he can.
Yeah.
And these aren't, cream of the crop. And in Hollywood, it's a vicious cycle that when you,
once you take those roles,
they're going to it's going to even hurt your chances even more of getting asked about the other thing.
Right.
Everyone loves a comeback, but not everyone's pushing for a comeback.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser is in the forgotten era at this point. He's not in the comeback era, which is very sad to say. And I think we're all palpable to it.
Yeah. We call the next era the Hollywood exile era, which will be stretching from Extraordinary Measures to The Secret of Karma.
The Secret of Karma.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 2020.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a long era.
10 years.
I mean, it was a 10-year era for the success era, mainstream success.
And it's roughly 10 years for the first one as well.
Yeah.
It kind of works in like a 10-year cycle.
It kind of does, yeah. So, I mean, when we get to the fourth era, what do we call that one?
I called it A Tourist Return, but, we're still up to, We got a few months.
I was gonna say right now, The Arcturus Return has one movie released.
2.
What's the second one?
No Sudden Move in the Whale.
Oh, is No Sudden Move, was that like a good success?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't see
Right
it.
now we have No Sudden Move, The Whale, Killers of the Flower Moon, Batgirl, and then this movie called Brothers that he's in.
Yeah. And Behind the Curtain at Night, which says it's in post-production, but
that is no, don't worry about that.
that's not
real.
That's not real.
That's not real.
Okay.
I've looked into this. That is a movie that has already been released
Oh.
under a different name.
Oh. Understood. Okay.
I don't know why it.
But you said it. It is a very steep drop off, but I guess it's you have to look at this from more than just the movie failures and also his personal life failures, or really tragedies, I should say. Because with Travolta, I feel like we had a very steep or very gradual decline. You got to think like Travolta's comeback was Pulp Fiction in 1995, 4?
Yeah.
And Get Shorty, and he had all these like immediate like hits, and he was popping off, doing really well. Battlefield Earth, which people would say is like Travolta's secondary fall, was 2000. But we don't really see Travolta really drop off into what his Red Box era until 2009.
Yeah.
So we have 8 years of post Battlefield Earth of like some movies it's a hit, like Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and he kind of just has like those mild comebacks with like Wild Hogs. Wild Hogs is like kind of a comeback movie for him that he immediately squanders.
But like, you get what I'm saying? It's like Travolta's. It's like down. Like, yeah. If people can understand, I was making a hand gesture and I felt like no one's gonna see the hand gesture, so I have to I have to voice it, and it'd be like like that, like how it's like gradual, but it's not like new because it's not all misses. He has some hits, some flops, some hits, more flops, little hits, a lot of flops, and then it's all flops. Yeah, that's Travolta. Fraser, it's like
hit flop, hit flop, hit flop, hit flop, hit
flop,
flop, flop, flop,
flop, flop, flop, flop, flop, flop, flop. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is for Fraser.
Yes,
but what we're saying is it's important to take into context outside of his movie career, which is kind of sad. It's sad that like your personal life is also affecting your career.
Yes, very much.
Which is probably more the norm that people should learn from, but I don't know. It's a toughie. So I think the biggest difference that we have to acknowledge, and maybe this will go into my least favorite, Jeff.
Yeah.
Is Inkheart really is a movie where he's asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Like he is so just
checked out.
Checked the fuck out.
And I'm sure he is in pain. I'm sure he's, not getting a lot of sleep.
Well, when you think about it, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, a lot of post-production work, which means they probably shot early 2007, late 2006. Journey to the Center of the Earth, a lot of post-production work, including 3D, probably shot in 2006. Inkheart, they probably shot in 2007, released in 2008. I bet you the Inkheart is in the middle, smack dab middle of his divorce.
Yes.
Like, he's probably got to be taking calls and doing shit while working on this movie. He is asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, and that movie's just so boring.
It is so boring. Like, you take a concept that I'm sure the book got some good reviews, right? And it's got a following.
Yeah, people like the book.
But the movie was not only the movie was really terrible, but Brendan Fraser was terrible.
Yes, he's bad in that movie.
I mean, that's probably my least favorite because I could easily point to like G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, which I hate, or I don't know, Dudley Do-Right maybe.
Let's be real. Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mist is the worst movie in this era. Let's not like.
I'm not counting it because
it's not like
no. Hold on. You don't understand what I'm saying though.
I hear what you're saying.
It is a movie of this era. He recorded his lines before this era.
Yes. But still, we're talking about finished product.
I don't hold this movie against his career. It's such a nothing movie.
I don't hold it against his career, but if we're talking about what the worst movie we covered in this era was.
Then yeah, it's Sinbad.
It's Sinbad Beyond the Veil of Mist. So it's like
I'm just saying, like, in terms of the Brendan Fraser role I liked the least, it is definitely Inkheart.
I would probably agree with you, aside from Sinbad.
And now, I mean,
because even in movies like The Air I Breathe, Journey to the End of Night, The Last Time, and whatnot, he's fine in those movies. He's trying something new.
I know you particularly were kind of against him on The Air I Breathe, right? It was like that was like not a role.
Yeah,
for
I think
him.
he's very miscast, but at least he's trying in that movie.
Yeah,
And Inkheart's not trying.
he's not trying.
So I probably agree with you that Inkheart is the low end of this.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about the high end of this,
That's kind of tough because there's an objective high.
it's The Mummy.
It's The Mummy. But is that your personal high? Like I would probably agree it's my personal high, but I really like Gods and Monsters. I would watch that movie again.
Gods and Monsters is my favorite movie we covered in this era. My favorite Brendan is The Mummy. I think he's just so electric in The Mummy. That's a Star is Born performance.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Which is not capitalized on, but he is.
You said Gods and Monsters might have been, if we roll back the tape,
Yeah.
might have been your favorite movie you've covered this entire podcast.
I forgot about Blowout.
That's true.
There are other movies. It's up there. It's in
Yeah.
like the top 5.
Do you think it's like Blowout then Gods and Monsters? You think there's
Probably.
some
I would have to look at this again. I have
Yeah.
to sit down.
because you have to think when we do these recaps, we have to think about like the recap of the podcast too.
Yeah.
Think about all these movies we've watched,
Yeah.
Jeff.
And you've already done the comparison between Travolta and Fraser.
Yeah.
At this fun fact, Stuart, at this point we have recorded. This is our total 123rd episode.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, we've watched a lot of movies.
We've watched 100 and maybe
15
movies
like
if you count recaps and fucking commercials and
Christmas specials.
Christmas specials.
I gotta figure out what our Christmas special this year is gonna be. Still got 6 months.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have like an underrated, like a little quiet movie that you kind of hold deep to your heart? Would you say that's Gods and Monsters for you, or do you have like? Because I do like him in The Quiet American a lot,
No, Quiet American was good. Quiet American is worthy of evaluation.
and he Journey to the End of the Night, he does really good in the role, but I just don't think I'd watch that movie again personally. But a movie that I secretly kind of love, that I think is like a little underrated, that deserves a little bit more praise. I mean, I don't know. Like Gods and Monsters, The Quiet American, they seem rightfully praised.
Yeah, like they both got Oscar nominations.
Yeah, I don't think they're movies that kind of went under the wayside.
So that's why Dudley Do Right is the most.
Fuck off. I mean, Monkey Bone, we've said it many times, is the most frustrating movie
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating.
because it has a good concept.
Yeah, it has
there.
everything you need to be good, and it isn't,
Yeah.
and that's why it's
You
frustrating.
got Henry Selick and you got
Brendan Fraser,
Fraser.
and you got Chris Kattan, and he's just crushing it.
Crushing it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like there. I don't know if there's really necessarily an underrated movie in here.
I don't think so.
I think everything's kind of evaluated correctly.
Pretty correctly. Yeah. I mean, I will say Dickie Roberts, another frustrating movie that could have been good.
Yes.
It had a concept.
That Dickie Roberts should have been so much meaner. And we talked about this with Morgan.
We talked about this. And Blast from the Past rightfully praised as a good movie.
Blast from the Past maybe the most under. I don't know. It's not. I don't know if I consider that underrated. It's charming. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a very charming movie. It's got decent reviews.
It looks nice.
It's actually wait a second. What is the Rotten Tomato score on Blast from the Past?
I don't think it's great. I think it's like okay.
Because I looked on the Metacritic Metascore, and it's 48, and the IMDb rating 6.7. So I'm like, wait a minute, 58% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
technically rotten.
Technically rotten. Yeah,
That's not right. And 56% audience score out of 100,000 plus ratings.
I think. Where did I put? Let me look at my review for Blast from the Past. I think I put it like kind of like a 6 out of 10.
I'd say
Yeah, I put it as a 6 out of 10.
I would probably agree with you, but they're saying it's like just ever so slightly below 6 out of 10, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah,
it's between 6 and 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
between 6 and 6.5 out of 10. That makes it fresh, ladies and gentlemen. That makes it fresh. And if you look it up on Rotten Tomatoes, it is rotten, both on the tomato meter and audience score.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, no, a lot.
So maybe with that knowledge, I would say Blast from the Past underrated.
On purely a technicality.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much covered a lot of, especially context with Fraser, with his divorce, with his, we've said this, but just to really hone down on it, like this man's body is like broken.
Yeah.
And something that we should address from when we go forward and cover movies in the future is Brendan Fraser is going to have a little bit of a weight gain.
Yeah.
And he acknowledges this.
He made a movie about
it. Which he won an Oscar for it. But I don't know. Like, I really feel like when we talk about movies like Furry Vengeance or Extraordinary Measures or Standoff, I think it's going to be like, oh, he looks healthy.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the next series of movies compared to Travolta is Travolta, like, when he got into direct-to-video direct, it's funny. Like those movies are funny. And,
yeah, I will say, yeah. I'm thinking Life on the Line.
Speed Kills and Life on the Line, he's just, like, being ridiculous. It's funny to watch.
I guess
that was the
true.
Juice that originally started that podcast.
That's very true.
It's funny. Brendan, it's going to just be kind of sad to watch. It's
going to be very sad.
Furry Vengeance, which we've already watched, was like depressing. But no, that's what we're going into with the next era. Is it's going to be a little sad, but we're going to keep it up, go through them all until we get to the promise of Brendan's big comeback in 10 years.
That's still going.
Yeah,
I mean, you said what, Jeff? That like by the time Killers of the Flower Moon comes out, we'll probably be right at it or something, or.
What?
Like in our podcast, by the time Killers of the Flower Moon will come out.
Oh, yeah. Killers of the Flower Moon is scheduled to come out wide release October 20th, and I have the episode listed to come out as October 20th within the time. So we might have to see, like, I mean, there's going to be preview screenings, so we might be able to get, like, a day or two before.
Yeah, maybe
we'll figure it out.
Maybe we're doing it with Travolta, where we're kind of overriding Fraser, but we're bouncing back for his new movies.
Yeah. And we can also account for the fact that Travolta's probably going to have like 7 direct-to-video movies come out before then.
Jeff, I have to ask you something.
Yes.
I have to ask you something.
Yes.
When we're 7 actors deep,
yes,
and we have to continually like bounce back to each actor, like
it takes us roughly 1.5 to 2 years to cover an actor. By the time we are 7 actors deep, it will be 15 to 20 years from now, and I think we can figure it out.
Well, because hold on, hear me out. Let's say we're on Ian McKellen.
Yes.
You, me, and Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
And we've covered 5 actors prior.
It would be called Histor-Ians, but continue.
Understood. You have to imagine, like, there's going to be a Brendan Fraser movie, a Travolta movie. I'm not going to list the other actors.
Yeah.
But imagine like 3 other actors that we'll be covering in the future that are each going to have a movie be released. Like, they're probably each going to have like 1 to 2 movies released. That's 5 to 10 movies.
Yeah.
That we have to interrupt the current podcast for.
Yeah, there's no problem with this.
To go back and cover those.
Fraser currently has like 1 movie in the lineup. Travolta has 3 movies that are finished, and 1 will be released this year, and probably 2 will be released next year. Then he has 2 more movies for the year after that, so we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Okay.
Stuart's really excited to talk about American Metal, and That's Amore.
You betcha.
That's Amore is going to be the best episode of this show.
You think so?
Do you read the pitch for that movie?
I did read the pitch for that movie.
It's like Travolta's literally dating a girl whose name is like Casey Amore in that movie. He's gonna walk up and be like, my meatballs! I don't know what's going on, huh?
My meatball.
Oi, vey! No, he's gonna be Fafangu, huh? Mamma mia! That's gonna be every scene in that movie.
You're wearing a Wild Hogs do-rag right now.
I am wearing a Wild Hogs do-rag.
I feel pretty content with what we've covered.
I think we've done a pretty good recap of Brendan this era.
Yeah.
Make sure to tune next week, folks, as we jump into the third era of Brendan Fraser, the
Hollywood exile
era, with his motion picture Extraordinary Measures. It's a double-hander of him and Harrison Ford. We have a lot of context.
Harrison Ford. Aren't you kind of a Harrison Ford fan?
What are you talking about? I'll have a lot to say in that episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. As a reminder, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Pop into our Reddit, r/Travolting. Find us on Twitter or Instagram @TravoltingPod. Find me on Twitter @Jeff W. Sweeney. Email us, travoltingpodcast@gmail.com.
Find me on Instagram @Stewart125. You bitch.
Like that? Special thanks, as always, to Rebecca Johnson for our graphic design, Michael Van Bodegum Smith for the theme music. It's now taking you out. Have a great week.